He called them suckers and losers. Who in the hell does he think he is? Who does he think he is?
Who does he think he is, Sean Gregorian? Who does that guy think he is?
Well,
who does Sean think he is?
maybe let me.
Oh, man. It's best to say he was muted. We have Lena Star Moon, who might know what the deal is. She said, that's a deep thought, Sean. It's so deep, we can't even measure it. That's how deep it is. Oh, Maddie Lynn, who says, baby Sean. Yes, Sean is a baby. He needs to be pampered. And how's that diaper rash? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Update right here at TheRealDeanRyan Media. I am Dean Ryan, and we are, yes, coming to you live from Studio B still, as we are waiting for the immaculate return of the World at War, which we'll get into a little later tonight. But in the meanwhile, it is a big time to be alive, as tonight's episode is Wars of Distraction. As we're going to get into it as the 5 minutes past midnight, 5 minutes to midnight, depending which way the pendulum swings, where you're standing in perspective. We are sitting really at the beginning of a new dawn or a brave new world, depending who you ask. Yes, we are. We're going to be talking about the wars of distraction here, from what we witnessed over the weekend to the domestic wars that are being brought to us purposefully to distract us from the ultimate war, which is on its way to happen right now in Iran. We'll be talking about that. Also with Netanyahu, who is Mr. Netanyahu is coming to Washington. Yes, his living room, you might know, we'll be getting into. And also Thomas Massie is putting on a brave front as he's taking on the powers that be in the fallout of the Epstein files, which continue to spark outrage across the DC Beltway, and even across the pond in the UK, where Prime Minister Starmer, the very well-known, highly renowned communist over there in England, is moments away from stepping down. But is he willing to step down? Does he want to go? Over the weekend, he made a really incredible omission in the House of Parliament, and complete and utter chaos is now ensuing in the 9 Downing Street, one of those fixtures, as the UK is really getting close to what the Sex Pistols described anarchy in the UK. And we'll see what that's all about. Plus, even Australia seems to be having some chaotic moments, as they're now branding the entire world as Palestine and are now protesting the Israelis. And just like my premonition saw, there was luckily not a terror attack that took place here in the U.S. over the weekend, but something that was, caught just in the nick of time. We'll be talking about that here tonight, as Late Update is right on time, although late is in the title. We are broadcasting live on Facebook over there at TheRealDeanRyan. Yes, we are. Hopefully everybody can hear me. And hopefully that's true. As well as we are broadcasting on YouTube, as well as Rumble itself. Can you believe it? It's amazing, isn't it? Okay, let's now get started with some night headlines that are making its way around the world and in your neck of the woods, shall we? Well, I just have a few stories here, and a lot of them that are going to make sense here in the meanwhile. And you might have been one of the millions of Americans that have made its witnessing to the Super Bowl over the weekend. I, for one, can say I was not one of those Americans who took part in the what I felt like black magic, witchery, tomfoolery. No, I didn't, but I did notice some of the culture wars that took place during the Super Bowl. You might have noticed too, as the Seahawks of Seattle played the Patriots of New England. Well, a lot of ads were underway. Well, here's one of the ads that you've seen during the commercials of the Super Bowl, and I, for one, am a little startled by it, but we'll explain after. This was from Snoop Doggy Dogg, that is, during the Sunday affair.
I hate you because we're from different neighborhoods.
I hate you because you look different.
I hate you because I don't understand you.
I hate you because people I know hate you.
I hate you because I think you hate me.
Because I need someone to blame.
Because you talk different.
Because you act different.
Because you're just different. Man, I hate that things are so bad that we have to do a commercial about it.
Me too.
Yes, take a stand against hate. Take a stand against hate as long as you're getting paid for it. That's Snoop Dogg's commercial, paid for by the owner of the Patriots, apparently Mr. Kraft, against anti-Zionism, apparently. What I find interesting is Snoop Dogg didn't want to stand before 10, 15 years ago when I met him and stand up for 9/11 truth, but for the right price, he'll stand for anything with a fine money dollar, wouldn't he? Well, you also might have heard that the halftime was quite controversial. I really didn't see the controversy, but TPUSA put on a congruent halftime show during the Super Bowl performance. And we noticed a few things in that, well, at least I did, that came to mind. Well, first of all, Kid Rock played the halftime affair over there at TPUSA. Not sure what TP stands for, other than the obvious. Well, this is what we noticed. Right away, we noticed the grieving widow, Erica Kirk, made her entrance, and it was quite the entrance of all. Have a look into it. Pretty stunning, isn't it? I, for one, am quite taken aback. Not the fact that this is how grieving widows act, but the only one that remembers that this woman, wasn't she supposed to be pregnant by now? About 8 weeks, maybe, is it 20 weeks now? If that's a pregnant woman, the father of the unborn must be just a tiny little person. And yeah, I smell something that smells like a tomfoolery, if you ask me. Now, speaking of tomfoolery and complete fraudulence, fakery, well, one of the viewers noticed this during the break of the halftime performance over there at TPUSA. Well, they noticed that Erica Kirk doesn't really cry on command like many other talented artists out there. No, she uses something called fake tears through Visine. In fact, here, have a look at this. This is why you never want to chop onions right before you're going on stage. It's embarrassing for all involved, isn't it? I'll tell you what. There you have that one. Here are some other pressing issues. And now that we get out of the Super Bowl melee, you might have heard the following of Savannah Guthrie. Now, I'll tell you this, something doesn't sit right by me with this story from its inception. Well, let me just tell you what I mean is, first of all, the timing of it, right when the Epstein files came out, was quite impactful. Well, number one, the Bitcoin crash also took place when the Epstein files happened. Is it a coincidence that the ransom of the kidnapper of Savannah Guthrie's mother was requesting Bitcoin for an unknown amount, which we only just found out, today? Is it also a coincidence that the people, the organization that received the ransom note of the alleged kidnapper of Savannah Guthrie's mother happened to be TMZ, where Harvey Levin is up and down the Epstein files? TMZ, what I believe is a Mossad storefront that is very, very well into the hacking scandal that we saw in the UK, but this time it's US stateside supported. They just happen to be, Johnny on the spot every time. Well, let me tell you about this now. Well, we found out finally that Savannah Guthrie's mother, who was kidnapped from Tucson, Arizona, the kidnappers were now requesting $6 million in Bitcoin be sent to them if they wanted to see their mother again. Now, it just also happened to be that Savannah Guthrie, during a press conference over the weekend, word for word, verbatim, tone for tone, pound for pound, recited the exact phrases that many people saw. I didn't see the movie at the time. I sure know about it. What I'm referring to is Silence of the Lamb. Oddly enough, Savannah Guthrie admits to, quote, hour of desperation in search for missing mother, pleads in a new video for tips to end this, quote, nightmare, which the deadline was today, and all the reports I'm hearing was not met with the $6 million in Bitcoin. Interesting enough, you might have seen the short solo video put online. Guthrie told 1.6 million Instagram followers that she was taken, and we don't know where. We need your help. So I'm coming to ask for you, not just for prayers, but no matter where you are, if you see anything, to know her is to love her. We've all heard it before. So this is quite a strange state of affairs. Now, after Guthrie and her two siblings put a video up just days ago offering to pay suspected kidnappers for their mother's release and return, the Pima County Sheriff's Department once again conceded on Sunday that they and the FBI, who is just remarkable in their investigation, have, quote, no suspects, persons of interest, vehicles that have been identified at this time. Now, the FBI has offered a measly $50,000 reward for information that results in Nancy Guthrie's being found. Last week, DNA samples, blood traces, evidence that Mrs. Guthrie was taken from her home against her will emerged. Pima County sheriffs revealed that the victim is in need of life-saving medication she has not seemingly had in over a week now. This is a strange story from developed as what I understood was they had the so-called kidnapper. My understanding was the son-in-law. I guess he's not a prime suspect anymore. But there's something that's just a lot of fakery in this, the timing of it all. And who is Savannah Guthrie's husband? And what is his connection to the Clintons? That is the question. What is thy answer, I wonder? So it remains to be seen what will happen in the fate, whether this is a story that is real and the validity of it is, well, quite questionable. I mean, the first thing, just my gut tells me all that. My gut tells me all that. Now, continuing now, as we get past that, well, here's a little update on the wars at hand. You know, I've said that wars on many fronts. Well, you might have seen Donald Trump over the weekend during the Super Bowl of Sunday tweet out a very distasteful video, which I'm sure he's done before, of the Obamas pictured as chimpanzees, which a culture war and the cry of racism ensues shortly thereafter. He puts that, knowing that would happen in what I fear or what I view as another form of distraction with another culture war of a political football, or in this case, a cultural football of arguments. Well, speaking of that, well, since the inception and the rollout of ICE and the National Guard many, many months ago now, I've said that the ICE, the Immigration Custom Enforcement, wasn't really there necessarily to drag out the criminals that poured in over the border during the fake president of Biden, which vindicated again in the Epstein files. They knew Biden died years ago and was shot. That was an actor playing him. I'm telling you, at the rate I'm going to start reading palms and make a real living. Well, now get this. This is now coming out of the lamestream stroke media as vindication is really the theme of the night here. Well, now a new study has now been reported and has now come out that, get this now, the arrest of ICE, of all the migrants they're doing, less than 14% of those arrested by the Immigration Custom Enforcement are violent criminals. You don't say. Are you saying that ICE is really meant for us and all the dissidents who may protest in the near future? Oh, you don't say, Dean. Well, let me tell you a bit more about it now. As less than 14% of those arrested by ICE in Trump's first year back in office had violent criminal records. Documents show. That's correct. Yes, out of nearly 400,000 immigrants arrested by ICE, well, only 14% had violent crime offenses, according to the International Department of Homeland Security's documents obtained by CBS over there. Well, the official statistics contained in DHS document, which had not been previously reported publicly, will provide the most detailed look yet into who ICE has arrested during the Trump administration's far-reaching deportation operations across the U.S. Well, the internal documents, which were never meant to be seen, but as we know, they all get seen eventually. We all find out. Then we all get angry. Well, these internal documents undermine frequent assertions by the Trump administration that its crackdown on illegal immigration is primarily dangerous, violent criminals living in the U.S. illegally. Well, this is the worst of the worst, they said. Now, this show ICE has dramatically increased arrests since Trump's return in office. Nearly 60% of ICE arrestees for the past year had criminal charges or convictions, the documents indicates. But among that population, the majority of the criminal charges or convictions are for non-violent crimes. Well, how do you like them apples? Really? Candied? I'd like them candied as well. Now, continuing, something else that is sparking the late night headlines wherever you are. Well, the Epstein files are the talk of the town. Well, for many moons now, a lot of the narrative has been that Trump will be vindicated through the Epstein files because he banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago a long time ago. He kicked him out, threw him to the curb, told him to pound sand and go play in traffic. Get out of here. Well, that might not be the case now, as we're now learning that the redacted part of the Epstein files suggests that Trump never banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago. That's right. After many in Congress, and especially those who've now spoken with reporters after viewing a handful of redacted Epstein files as of today, well, they're sharing one detail that's out. Sadly, I have to share it with you. Well, previously unseen section of the Epstein files may refute one of Donald Trump's defense on his friendship with convicted sex offender who's living a nice life over there in Tel Aviv now, Jeffrey Epstein. Well, recently, Democratic Representative Jamie Raskin, whose name sounds like a rash, well, spoke with reporters on Monday after viewing unredacted versions of the Epstein files, relaying that one document he saw appeared to suggest that he asked Epstein to leave his Mar-a-Lago club, like the president has claimed in years past. Now, Jamie Raskin, the man who looks like he has a dead rat on his head, also said that Justice Department has only released about half of the files in the Epstein evidence, claiming they've been withheld they also withheld 3 million documents more. And it's sad that we have to have this lowlife tell us some of the things we already knew, but I guess we'll take it where we can get it, because a cover-up is definitely ensuing. Now, speaking of that now, there is another congressman who I'm happy to have said that I shook his hand many years ago. That's Thomas Massie, the man who literally told us well over a year ago that all of Congress has a babysitter provided to them by AIPAC, only to have his wife, his then wife, what I believe, passed away 2 weeks later. But let me tell you about this now. This Republican lawmaker, a man with courage, because one man with courage makes a majority. In this case, the Thomas Massie has now to get to the bottom of it all. Candidate after candidate also pledged their allegiance to Donald Trump at their local GOP dinner, incongruent to Thomas Massie's pledge to all of us. However, in this case, at the GOP dinner, when Republican Representative Thomas Massie took away, a congressman, unlike a soldier, does not work for the commander-in-chief, was a quote Thomas Massie said at this recent GOP dinner over the weekend. He also said the commander-in-chief had declared Massie a real loser, many of you know, and recruited a retired Navy SEAL to challenge him for this upcoming midterm election. Massie was also at the dinner trying to persuade voters in a deep red northern Kentucky to keep him in office, fresh off his biggest showdown yet with the White House. And because of Massie, who brought us the bill, first the release of millions of government files on offender Jeffrey Epstein. And if it wasn't for people like Thomas Massie, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. Here's a quote from Mr. Massie, Congress. Quote, "If you want a rubber stamp, you've got an option this year in this primary." Massie told about 100 people assembled for the dinner that if you want somebody who will go up there and try to make the best decision, then I'm your guy. Now, Massie's bid for re-election is shaping up as the ultimate test of Trump's clout and the GOP's base tolerance for those who challenge him. In a party defined by the past decade by loyalty to Trump, Massie is clashing openly with him, and some might even say mocking the president just with his legislation alone. Now, Trump allies have made ousting Massie a priority. Yes, even the Israeli lobby, even Adelson, Merab, I believe her name is, pledging to spend whatever it takes to defeat him. To many on the right, Massie is a nuance or a nuisance in some cases, but Republicans control the House so narrowly that they can pass legislation only with nearness. And Massie is known for breaking with the party on key votes. So he's a very, very hated man. Yes, he is. In fact, here is Massie talking about it, and then there's something else at play here that I'm going to tell you about. Check this out.
But what I saw that bothered me were the names of at least 6 men that have been redacted that are likely incriminated by their inclusion in these files. So that's the first thing that I saw. It took some digging to find them. Then I'll let you talk about what you saw.
Well, and we discussed that. I mean, there are 6 men, some of them with their photographs that have been redacted, and there's no explanation why those people were redacted. And Thomas discovered it through his MIT logic with some of the searches. But, you know, that's really concerning.
There are 6 men. We went in there for 2 hours. There's millions of files, right? And in a couple of hours, we found 6 men whose names have been redacted who are implicated in the way that the files are presented.
Yeah,
What's your message to Pam Bondi after what you saw today?
Need to do a little more work. And we'll see her at the Judiciary Committee here in a couple days.
at the very least, these 6 men, maybe she can make public. I mean, we're happy to provide the information to them, and they should do that.
Are these men U.S. citizens? What fields do they work in? Is it finance? Is it political?
At least one is a U.S. citizen. At least one is a foreigner. And the other 3 or 4 have names. I'm not sure if they're foreign or U.S.
In which field do they work in? Is it finance, banking, political?
One is pretty high up in the foreign government.
And some are there. One of the others is a pretty prominent individual. But I think that the point is that these 6 are just what we found in 2 hours of a review of the files that aren't redacted. The broader issue is why so many of the files they're getting are redacted in the first place.
Pretty stunning. Pretty stunning. More redactions. We don't know why. No reason, no rhyme. But this one man who broke away from his own party, risked his own political career, and I would even say his own well-being. And you know what I'm saying that? Because now, over the weekend, not only was Thomas Massey scoffed at by the Grand Ole Opry party there, but he received a phone call. At least one of his staffers did. The phone call happened to be, in this case, Kash Patel's FBI. Oh, yeah. And it wasn't very pleasant, and it didn't really cover the niceties of all the FBI is doing to get to the bottom of the pedophile sex trafficking network that Epstein created at behest of Israel. No, that's not what the phone call was about, actually. In fact, let's hear Thomas talk about it so you have an idea.
Also, I'm going to say this here on camera because it's important. One of Kash Patel's staff threatened my staff with a criminal investigation if we didn't straighten up and play ball.
I was going to ask you about that, but since you brought it up, and I didn't
I'm bringing it up.
Okay, you brought it up.
And so, like a criminal investigation having nothing to do, he said it was going to be a fraud. We're going to investigate one of your staff for fraud. Right. And he told another one of my staff this. If you guys don't straighten up, if you want to play hardball, if this is how you want to play it or something like that, this member of your staff is going to get criminally investigated for fraud. A very specific threat.
Yeah, there you have it. The old tactics of J. Edgar Hoover are now coming back to haunt the American people to prevent the truth from coming out. Now, as this is happening, a lot of people have asked and noticed that Ghislaine Maxwell, a woman we've only seen in caricatures of cartoons in the courtside, stenographer corners. We've yet to see a real life photo of her from, I don't know, this decade. Well, it's now said to be she's willing to play ball and testify. And in her testimony, which is said will give Donald Trump complete clemency from any wrongdoing. Well, she would like some clemency herself, if not a pardon. In fact, here's what just took earlier today.
We know that there are more than 36 associates, family members, and individuals directly associated with Donald Trump named in those files. Now, there are now at least 9 or 10 other countries across the world that have opened investigations or forced their leaders to step down because of their mere association with Jeffrey Epstein. And the United States government is engaged in an active cover-up of the largest sex trafficking scandal and influence peddling scandal in the history of the United States, and Donald Trump is right at the center of it. And the person who is living to provide the evidence, who knows what is going on, is trying to invoke the Fifth to buy her clemency.
Yeah, So it looks like Ghislaine Maxwell is going to get a pardon. There you have that one. Now, here's some other consequences now of the Epstein release. As I said in the beginning here of tonight's late night update, the UK is now experiencing a chaotic issue, a problem, as Starmer, the Prime Minister Starmer, is now receiving a public colonic where he is now fearing for his life. Over the weekend, Prime Minister Starmer, in a stunning omission in Parliament, when questioned whether he knew Mr. Madelson, his second in command over there in Parliament, in the Labour Party, whether he knew Lord Madelson was connected to pedo extraordinaire Epstein, if he knew beforehand, before appointing him, Starmer, in a very stunning omission, said yes, he knew that they had a connection, rather than he didn't know until after the fact. And now all hell is breaking loose to the point where people are going after Keir Starmer, and they're calling for him to step down. Even his own party, the Labour Party, has now called for Starmer to step down. We received word from our very own EU insider, Forsetti, that indeed that's the case. He has confirmed that from 3 sources, but also confirmed that Starmer refuses to step down. He's refusing to step down due to the fact that Mr. Lord Madelson, is the mere reason that Starmer has a position and job as Prime Minister, the commie himself. So people are now going after Starmer everywhere he walks in the street. They're even going after Mr. Sausage Fingers, the Sausage King of London, Prince Charles, booing him because of his brother, Andrew. One of the first people outed by the Epstein fiasco, roughly several years ago now, which I shared with you due to the fact that, the Queen Mother herself, Queen Elizabeth, now deceased, was no fan of the Zionists or anything Israeli flavored for that fact. It's really hit a sea change of effect over there in the UK. Well, it's unavoidable this time. And here, have a look at now kind of the chaos that's ensuing, is having to answer questions that are little inappropriate and very nerve-wracking.
Next week.
Mr. Cameron, a British question, if I may. What do you say to the man formerly known as Prince Andrew, and to Peter Mandelson, with regard to giving evidence to your committee?
Mandelson may bring down the whole government, from what I hear. He just engaged in terrible behavior. I mean, the allegations are very serious that he was working for Gordon Brown and then feeding information about UK possibly buying euros and having Epstein trade on that. I mean, it is a deeply, deeply troubling. And, Epstein's, I saw this interview with Epstein's former girlfriend talking about how someone is a loser if they weren't mentioned in the Epstein files. It's a window into the elite impunity, this club. And by the way, I think this is the most vulnerable the British monarchy has ever been. I mean, I heard they were asking the Queen questions about the Epstein class. They ought to ask the King and Queen questions, and maybe this will be the end of the monarchy.
What do you think it could be the end of the monarchy?
Well, if they don't have answers, or if they're implicated with an Epstein class, not a good look for the British monarchy.
What questions does the King have to answer?
Well, the King has to answer what he knew. What he knew about Andrew. Just stripping Andrew of a title is not enough. I mean, Andrew needs to come before our committee and start answering questions. I mean, look, if you have allegations of raping a young girl, I don't think the appropriate punishment is you no longer get to be a prince. There's got to be more than that.
Do you think the royal family must have known something they're not telling us?
They need to answer, the King and Queen, and I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand the British custom, but what's up with this, that you're going and someone's asking the Queen a question, the Queen is offended that she's being asking a question? I mean, come on. She wears the same clothes, she eats the same food, she's just a human being. She needs to answer the same questions anyone does.
Congressman, what do you think of the Clintons asking for their testimony to be public rather than behind closed doors?
I believe.
Pretty shocking, isn't it? Pretty shocking what's going to come about. My prediction is that the Labour Party in the UK Labour Party will replace him eventually, but will lose the general election, which I believe is in 2028. That's quite a long time. There could be a special election that could come about because of all this. A lot of people are now questioning, finally, whether a monarchy going forward in the UK is even needed at this point. But my true prediction still stands true, at least for my part, that Nigel Farage will be the next Prime Minister of England in the foreseeable future. That I can share with you. I also have this now, before we go to break, as we kind of clear up the everything Epstein and get in more international wars after the break here. Well, here's an update. A lot of people have really sent some sentiment over the weekend to me about Mr. Bombingo. Dan, I guess Bombingo Watch 2026. I guess it is official. Dan Bombingo, the man with courage, the man who went to Washington and the second man over there in the FBI, made his footprint and his real presence felt. Well, he's now officially back at Fox. I don't know why. Well, that's true now. It can be said that Dan Giorno has been hired by Fox News again as a contributor, and they request to bring his smug face with him and all his accomplishments as well. Interesting. Also, in a long-standing feud between Elon Musk, who is not looking good in spite of the recent file release, well, in his longtime feud with Steve Bannon, the man who interviewed in a puff piece Jeffrey Epstein, well, Elon Musk released the following. He posted this on his X just earlier today. And it says the following, that Steve Bannon, I guess no friend of Elon, a selfie pic with Mr. Epstein himself. So Steve Bannon wasn't just connected to Epstein, he was one of his closest friends, hundreds of texts, personal interviews for the sympathetic documentary that he did on him. Yes, he did. That's true. Okay, we're going to take this quick break here at Late Night Update. When we get back, we're going to talk about the ultimate war of distraction, but the ultimate war of all wars, the holy war, the one I really saw coming down the pikeway with Iran. And if they couldn't get the president, Donald Trump, to do it willingly, they were going to do it through psyops, false flags, and the ultimate pressure campaign like we've never seen before. We're going to get into all that and a whole lot more right here at Late Night Update. We'll be back after this quick message. Don't go anywhere. Stand by. Doggy here. Real Deal Pets on the scene here for Real Deal Media, this is Dean Ryan. Got a little white doggy here in Orange County, lost. Pink collar. And we're trying to see how we're going to save this baby. Been out here for a while. Gave her some water, a little bit of food. She's very spooked. Come on. Come on. To be continued, Real Deal Pets. Poor thing.
I know. Like, you can tell. I mean, looks like she's been out here for a while, though.
Oh, I know.
She looks kind of skinny.
Yeah. She's probably lost, too.
Poor thing.
She drink from the water at all?
You can tell she's scared. She's got her tail between her legs.
Yeah. Oh, she will. These people drive like maniacs out here.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it's so bad. People just don't even...
Animal control is here. We're going to save her and give her a home. Yeah. On the prowl. Well, yeah, on the prowl. Here we are. I was just getting mine on too. Did you see her go back here? Poor thing. Oh, poor thing. Did you call for backup? Okay, here we go. Just on the prowl.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? When you were 8 and you had bad traits, you go to school and learn the golden rule. So why are you acting like a bloody fool? If you get hot, then you must get cool.
We back. We are back. I think we are. Yes, we are. Okay. Welcome back, everybody, to Late Night Update. I am still Dean Ryan, your late night host. Yes, I am. As it is quite late where I am, and how about that? The poor little thing there from Real Deal Pets. Remember that segment? Don't we still love that? Yes, we do. Tonight is brought to you by the Real Deal Media Night Owls, the Visionaires with Debonair, the Iconics, not Ironics. Yes, I'm talking about you out there, the members who make this what we are. The very, very delicate Real Deal Media here tonight. You can become a Real Deal Media member by going to realdealmedia.tv, and only there you will become one of us and we'll become one of you. And that's how this thing works. It's very mutual. Yes, go to realdealmedia.tv, sign up, join tonight, and become a member where you can get exclusive content beyond just what you see here tonight. And I'm feeling, I'm not 100% back better yet. I'm not back bigger, better yet. I'm not built back better yet, but I'm getting there. Thank you for all the well wishes, everybody. You know what happened? It's just last week, the fog vid literally came. I didn't even do a video on it. I took some of my own personal footage of it, but the next day, everything just, I've been hacking up, hard to sleep at night, coughing. This is like a thing I've experienced quite a long time, but a lot of people are reporting illness across the Southland here in California. A lot of people are sick. It's just strange. This has been the toughest start to a year I've had ever. And hence why we don't have our Real Deal Mini computer yet to bring back World at War. And if you want to help bring back World at War, well, then bless your heart. Thank you in advance. And you can do that. I'll leave this up for a while. I normally don't share these things. I know I should promote myself more. I get too into what we're doing here. But if you want to help bring back World at War for a freak accident that took place, which is why we're doing our late night update instead of our World at War, well, you can do so by going to the following outlets. Well, you can go to GiveSendGo/RealDealGo. You go to PayPal.me/TheRealDeanRyan. And heck, you could go to Cash App where the Real Dean Ryan's there, and even Venmo itself, and contribute to bringing back the #1 late night show called World at War. And we can do all of your acrobats that you want, that you just dream about and have fantasies of. Well, we make it happen for you. Until then, it will take some time. We've got to take time with Wounded Hand. Yes, we do. So thank you. I'll leave that for a little while. And I really thoroughly apologize that we're in this position. But I didn't take the APAC money. I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't take the APAC money. They won't return my calls, I guess. Anyways, yes, severe people are reporting severe migraines, itching, dizziness, oversleeping. That's why NyQuil might be for you. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's very hard to sleep when you're hacking up and you don't know why. fact, I should probably take a throat lozenger. Tonight is brought to you by Halls. I'll wait on that. Anyways, but thank God I have that. Over the weekend was even worse. I had no voice. Over the last show I did with all of you, I had absolutely no voice whatsoever following that show. And it's gradually coming back. Also, big birthday to our very own Munchkin out there. Angela Kunar, Lena Starmoon, happy birthday to you. Yes, the big 2-5. Happy birthday to you. Over there in England, can you believe it? There we have that one. Okay, let's get back to business. And hopefully we'll get back to World at War business very soon. All right, here we go. Back to it all, as I'm still Dean Ryan, yes, as we know. And this next story, as we continue with some late night headlines that are really getting to all of us here. You know, I said that we're going to be pushed into war, and it's going to happen through saboteurs in this country that are going to be either one of the two. They're going to be either Iranian, yes, or the Christian white nationalists who hate the Israeli, to put it bluntly, as the Italians would say. And let's see them caption what I just said there. Let's see how those captions look. But anyways, I made that claim, and I don't think I'm far off, because over the weekend, somebody was caught bringing vials and vials of deadly nerve agents, pandemic agents, all kinds of pathogens into this country. And they came from another country that just did not happen to be Iran. And I don't want to give it away. I don't want to give the ending away, because I'm going to tease you first, and you'll figure this out. In fact, here is the person who was caught doing it for just unknown reasons. I guess we just have to fill in the blanks ourselves, like little Columbos that we are. Well, have a look at this.
Facing felony charges of disposing or discharging hazardous waste, according to state records. The home, which sits along Sugar Springs Drive near Washington and Hollywood Boulevard, that's where the FBI and other agencies before 6 o'clock Saturday morning raided that home, finding refrigerators with vials containing unknown liquids in that locked garage. Sheriff McMahill confirming once again what our investigation team first reported, that this is actually part of a broader federal investigation in California.
As our investigation progressed, we determined that the home was owned by the same individual connected to a prior illegal biolab investigation in Reedley, California that occurred in 2023.
Sheriff says 3 other individuals were actually inside the home the same day of that raid. They were renting rooms. They were removed from the home, and they're not involved in that investigation.
Authorities releasing this.
Yeah, illegal biolab. We have illegal biolabs in this country. Can you believe it? Yeah, not just in Ukraine. No, right here in this country, for unknown reasons, to release nerve agents, release the COVID-19's, the second coming. Whatever happened to disease X, it never really went off the ground, did it? Not enough support behind that one. Let's get into it now, because I have to tell you about this now. Mr. Netanyahu, and what a segue this is. It's called Netanyahu heads to Washington over the weekend for a closed-door meeting with Donald Trump. What's he worried about? This has got to be one of the best headlines I've seen in quite some time. Let me tell you more about it now. It's Prime Minister, man who's wanted all over the world, and not for reasons of vanity. No, the Prime Minister himself seeks to press Trump on strict red lines over Iran's nuclear program and ballistic missiles. even as U.S. allies in the region push for a lighter deal. Now, this is the same guy who, as far back as I can remember, probably even as far back as even the time I was in high school, was saying that Iran is just weeks away from getting a nuclear bomb. Yes, they is. The same man who said we would be greeted as liberators in Iraq, who was days away from obtaining improvised explosive EMPs that would give us 9/11s every week. This is the same guy who got us into the war. Yeah. Guy who wrote in his 1996 book about cutting ties and reshaping the Middle East and how the U.S. would need a Pearl Harbor event, which the neocons pretty much plagiarized that for their book called Project for the New American Century, which was based off Netanyahu's book. Yeah, this was the guy. Now back to Washington to see Trump. Not to deal with the 900, nearly 1,000 was mentioned in the Epstein files. No, not about that. No, about something more pressing that grown-ups are concerned about. Well, that's just right. Netanyahu will depart Tuesday for Washington coming up, as he made the phone calls over the weekend. As he now heads to Washington ahead of a meeting with Donald Trump, as Israeli officials now express growing concern over potential U.S.-Iran deal they fear could silence Israel's strategic interest in the region for the greater Israeli project. Doesn't Donald know this? That's it. Call another biolab over there in Reno. Make sure they pull an all-nighter. Well, Netanyahu is very hated, even his own country, and I'm sure his wife hates him too. Well, Netanyahu is scheduled to take off from Tel Aviv at noon and land over there in Washington around 1 a.m. this Wednesday, Israeli time, that is. The meeting with Trump is set for Wednesday morning at the White House and will be held without any media presence. Departure from the leader's past encounters, which included joint press events and photo ops, even with his own double, no matter the makeup that we saw. So what it's about. We have no idea what it's about. Nobody has any idea whatsoever. Well, as I'm telling you that, now get this now. Well, now there's an aircraft. Yes, there is. At least 112 United States Air Force C-17 aircraft are headed to the Middle East, and we just don't know why. It's a little untimely for an air show, if you ask me. These bragging pilots, well, now they're calling it Desert Storm levels have now been reached. One eye-opening of massive number of C-17 Globemaster military transports and cargo planes have been observed heading to Europe and the Middle East. And what some monitors have forewarned looks like the build-up to a major war with Iran. Well, that's crazy talk, if you ask me. And please, don't ask me. Well, one regional watcher and pundit commented in response that the C-17s are on their way to the Middle East. Guys, that's a lot. Like Desert Storm, a lot. Stay tuned. Stay awake. Well, this as of Friday, prominent open source account over there, the Armchair Admiral and others use public flight tracking data to tally the huge armada of U.S. Air Force C-17s and counting who are en route to what appears to be the Middle East for reasons we don't even understand, just like the Netanyahu meeting. Well, a trend since mid-January, we've noticed. Well, it continues now as the 112 now are now on their way. Now, it's also worth noting a number of Royal Air Force logistic flights from England seem to be on their way to Cyprus in similar parts of the region for reasons we don't understand. How many air shows can we be performing for these people? Well, in case you didn't know, C-17s are massive airplanes, can deliver huge amounts of equipment, large numbers of troops, single go. The U.S. military lists some of the following key capabilities. Well, here's some of them in case you're taking notes at home. Payload capacity of over 170,000 pounds. Ability to operate on short, austere runways, as well as 3,000 500 feet. That's one hell of a runway. As what they're now calling intercontinental range, with in-flight refueling extended reach even further. And finally, the rapid load, unload to keep missions moving under tremendous amounts of pressure. Yes, that's right. Iran and U.S. just concluded an initial round of indirect talks mediated by Oman. But despite some hopeful statements issued by both sides, it is very clear Iran is not willing to negotiate its ballistic missile program with the U.S., sticking point being demanded by Washington. Well, a second round is expected in the coming days unless military action ensues. First, Iran's foreign minister has newly questioned whether Washington is taking these talks seriously or merely a pretext for more time to allow the U.S. to build up its force in the region. I'm telling you, because they were lullabied last year, and negotiators were killed by Israel. Our dear friends who have our best intentions, no matter how many bios they have in Las Vegas, I don't care. So that's happening, and I'll tell you, it looks like the Iranians might be on point with that one. I hate to say it, but I can't tell a lie. Unlike Netanyahu, in this case, now look what else is happening in the region. I must share with you. Well, this is quite stunning, as there's more than just airplanes, as now the U.S. orders vessels to avoid the Strait of Hormuz after Iran threatens, quote, massacre. Yeah, apparently they have a backbone. Well, the U.S. has ordered now commercial vessels transiting through the Strait of Hormuz near the Persian Gulf to avoid Iranian ships amid escalating tensions in the Middle East. It says, don't worry about the Strait of Hormuz. That's why we invaded Venezuela. You see how it all connects. Call me crazy, but just don't call me wrong. Well, now the U.S. government is continually assessing the American security situation in the region to identify and differentiate threats and safeguard freedom of navigation. Will ensure the free flow of commerce and protect U.S. vessels, personnel, and interests, said the U.S. Department of Transportation, who I believe is ran by Sean Duffy, formerly of The Real World, who now is the head of the Fake World. Well, the department said vessel personnel should be very prepared to provide vessel name and flag state if they are stopped by Iranian forces. Crew members are encouraged to invoke the Law of Sea Convention. Now, this is very interesting. Last time we saw tensions this high, you may recall during the Bush years, who remembers those little, quote-unquote, Iranian little boat vessels coming up to the U.S. naval carriers? And who remembers the audio from that? It says, we are Iranian forces. We will destroy you. When it was Dick Cheney himself trying to do voiceovers. This really sets up a false flag. This really sets up another Gulf of Tonkin, just like we've seen, very textbook. Now, this all comes, in closing, it all comes after Iran apparently threatened, quote, a massacre of Americans in the Strait of Hormuz after seizing 2 ships. Now, they just didn't threaten that, nilly-willy, right. They said if they were bombed, they said if they were attacked, they were going to go after American personnel. See, that's what they forget to put in the stories, and that's why I have to put it there for them. So that's what's happening now. Now, here's what Netanyahu has to say all about this. I'm going to show you something that's sugar-coated for the American people first. Then I'm going to show you something that's not meant for the American people second. And we'll see if I can translate in Hebrew if it comes to that, just like I did last week in Farsis. Here it is.
Is developing now ballistic missiles that are intercontinental ballistic missiles for 8,000 kilometer range. What does that mean? They add another 3,000 kilometers, and they've got under their atomic guns, the New York City in target, Washington, Boston, Miami, Mar-a-Lago. Okay? So that is a very great danger. You don't want to be under the nuclear gun of these people who are not necessarily rational and who chant death to America.
Yeah. Yeah. He's telling you the targets that they're going to go after if we don't go to war with Iran. See, you got to translate it. You got to know psychopathy. And he's the prime candidate for that. Now, here is another clip of what Netanyahu doesn't want you to see. Hopefully, there's a translator. If not, I'm going to do it myself and tell you what it's all about. And that's where things get really good. Check this out.
I said, Mike, that we are fighting today the battle that the Maccabees fought. They fought for the survival of the Jewish people and the Jewish faith against an enemy that wanted to extinguish us, wipe us out from the face of the earth.
He's threatening the American people. Listen carefully.
But we were also fighting the battle of civilization, because our civilization is based on the Judeo-Christian tradition. And if the Maccabees had failed, there'd be no Judaism, there would be no Judeo-Christian civilization. There would be no Maccabees. There would be no United States. There wouldn't be the civilization of freedom, the respect for our common traditions, our common values. All of that would not happen if it weren't for those 5 brave brothers. They actually made the whole difference. So that spirit animates these brave soldiers that are here today and their comrades who are fighting in Gaza or in Lebanon or in Iran, wherever is necessary to not only preserve the Jewish nation and the Jewish state, but preserve civilization against the barbarians. The barbarians are out there. They did a horrible thing to us on October 7th. They'll never do it again. But they're doing it against Jews in Sydney and Jews elsewhere in America and elsewhere. This is our common battle against the barbarians. We have won it here. We're winning it here. We'll win it everywhere. חג שמח, חג חנוכה שמח לכולכם. תודה רבה לכם. תודה רבה.
There you have it. He's saying, because of Israel, we should be grateful. We made America what it is today. They need to go to war for us. They need to go up bat for us, or else we're gonna unveil more biolabs. Do you see the goal here? Do you see the infiltration that has now been unmasked before our eyes over the whole course of time? Just like what we shared with you, the unmasking of how this all came out with the Schofield Bible, how they took over the Christianity through the Christian Zionists, how they have now infiltrated every confines of city to state to federal, and even managed to infiltrate, like the geniuses they are, the universal bodies, whether it's the United Nations, weapons inspectorate, whether it's the ICC, International Criminal Courts. They have now infiltrated all of it, yet decry victimhood. As you can hear, a massacre of its own has just taken place, where now there is just driving everywhere at night now. There's a new crash, there's a new death all the time now. The miracle jabs are now coming home to roost. Have you noticed that? In addition to what we're talking about here. Speaking of miracle jabs, yeah, that's another thing too. The most miracle jabbed and the most vaccinated country, dare I say, in the world, Israel, yet nowhere near the amount of deaths, ailments that the United States has seen, and even the UK for that fact, as we shared with you at World at War, and even, yes, Australia, one of the first victims, and one of the first to receive it, right with New Zealand when it comes to the West. Yeah. And they're now in protest in unison. And guess what? Their government, as I shared with you, I knew it was kind of cracking down on the Australians right now. Just like when the Australians tried to do their convoy, like the Canadians, they were getting beaten over the head over there in Australia by police officers that really didn't look like they were from the region. In fact, they looked like they're, CCP oriented. Well, now that's changing with the new anti-hate speech laws of the anti-Semitic themes, which is a maneuver to wash out the Chinese influence and footprint throughout the West. whether it's South America, whether it's the Commonwealth. Well, now Australia seem to be protesting once again. Here, have a look at this. They're now saying we're all Palestine. And believe me, when they say that, I'm saying that too, because the weapons and procedures and maneuvers of war, like we saw in the Iraq War, and like the procedures that are being done on the Palestinians in Gaza, whether it's knee on the neck and other kind of weapons that we're not even privy of knowing, they're always going to be brought back home to roost to be used on their own people, us. And the Australians know, at least these ones do. Have a look. Yeah, they know. They know. The people of the UK know. The people of the UK are now waking up. 90% of nurses in the National Health Services, the NHS nurses, 90% have said no to the next round of miracle jobs coming up in England. Did you know? 90%. When asked why, they said, well, because we've seen what it's done to our colleagues who are no longer here, who took it, we're not willing to do that. A lot of them didn't even know how to answer, because a lot of them too now, the replacements don't even speak English and are really not even supposed to be there and met for the medical world to begin with. That's another unspoken truth in England. But in that same kind of theme, it's the awakening that is stopping these global initiatives taking place now. In fact, the digital ID that was supposed to be now just completely flowing through England was now defeated. But that's not making the headlines, because that's a defeat that really the power structure doesn't want to really represent out there. Yeah, the digital ID. But they're going for broke. And wait till it comes to the fact when you hear that Epstein worked for the Rothschild banks. That's another one. When Epstein worked, yeah, we're going to hear about that one too. So let's hope that let's hope he can avoid this war with Iran that Netanyahu wants. Is now saying they're willing to go it alone, which is code for they're willing to use the Samson option, meaning the nuke option, which is in their charter of the no hide laws and all that, because they don't have a constitution over there in Israel. Yeah, you don't have that freedom of speech. They don't follow the Magna Carta. That's a military state. First and foremost, that's a place where ICE goes to get their training. That's a place where the police who took all the federal money and all the federal gear, weapons, well, guess what? They get their federal training. They send their police trainers from all precincts to go to where? Tel Aviv, to get trained by the IDF along with ICE. ICE is now being used to drive a wedge through the American people who have come together in this great time of challenge, because you can't have that, because when the American people are united, we're unstoppable. I'm very passionate about it because, aren't you tired of looking at what they call liberal out there as our enemies, when that's not even, we have actors who are going to these churches and protesting ICE. We have crisis actors that are calling themselves, like what we've seen in 2016. We have the kabuki theater on steroids because we have the common enemy grasp. Now's the time to squeeze. How about you out there? Anyways, how do you feel about that? We're going to end it there before I get the cops called on me here tonight. I will be back tomorrow night as we continue to drift into the unknown territories where us Americans, and for the most part, those of us around the world, have never been into before, as we are literally staring the enemies of this humanity existence. We're staring them right in the eye, because now is the time where they have never looked at the common man before eye to eye until now. This is the moment we have them. And it's people like Thomas Massey who have the courage to do it, because now the timid can join the cause when it wasn't popular to do it before. That's why the bold will be remembered. The bold will always stand up first, and the timid join last. But we'll take it where we can get it from. So on that note, I'm going to get out of here. I want to thank all of you for joining me in this night. So for all of us here at Real Deal Media's Late Night Update, I'm Dean Ryan, saying thank you for sharing a bit of your late night with me. Until next time, tomorrow night, always remember to stay tuned and stay awake, and always remember to be bold, because we got them, and now's the time to squeeze hard. Good night, everybody.